Brazil's working-class hero, the metal worker elected president of South America's biggest country in October 2002. In his victory speech, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, known simply as Lula, promised to improve education, to improve health, to make land ownership fairer, but most importantly, to fight poverty.
I will make sure that every Brazilian man and woman can every day have breakfast, lunch and dinner. That is a basic human right.
Lula's Workers' Party also promised to bring transparency and clean government to a country where politics had been characterized by sleaze. But when life went to Brazil, nobody was looking at Lula's record on social policy. Instead, all eyes were fixed on the corruption scandal rocking his government. His party was accused of buying votes by bribing the opposition. But almost 3 years on, what about those election promises? Life has been to find out more. Sao Paulo, Brazil's biggest city and the business hub of the country. Nestling between the skyscrapers are the favelas, or urban slums, housing the poor. This is favela Coliseu. It's right in the heart of one of the richest parts of Sao Paulo. It epitomizes a stark fact that has come to characterize Brazil today. The gulf between the rich and the poor is one of the biggest in the world. Almost half the country's wealth is concentrated in the hands of just 20,000 families, and that's out of a population of 184 million. What separates the poor families living in this favela from their millionaire neighbors is a concrete wall. It's covered in paintings by Zezinho, one of the residents.
This is our Brazilian version of the Berlin Wall. It is our wall of shame. On the other side is the rich world, while on this side there's a world of poverty. On this side there's a world of misery, of filth. On the other side of our Berlin Wall there's a world of gardens and money, wonderful gardens, marble floors.
Immediately behind the wall is one of the world's most exclusive luxury shops, the Daslu department store. Only the super rich can afford it. You can only get in by car, because round here, the wealthy don't walk. Zezinho makes his living recycling waste paper and has built up a library from old books and magazines for the children of the favela.
This is my house of culture. Over here there are things for the children. Down there are the drawing materials.
Pride of place goes to his favorite pop group, the Beatles. 20 years ago, Zezinho moved to Sao Paulo from the impoverished northeast of Brazil, the same area as Lula himself. Back in the 1980s, Lula, the union leader, helped galvanize a mass movement for workers' rights. Today, Lula, the president's big project, is to make a more equal society. And even though economic growth is strong, inequality appears entrenched.
Economic growth does not necessarily lower social inequality. Brazil grew more than anywhere else in the world in the last century. That is what I call our national shame graph. The curve at the top shows the rise in GDP, while the inequality graph below hasn't moved. It looks more like the electrocardiogram of a corpse.
But the government defends its record, creating a ministry specially to tackle the issue of poverty.
The free market doesn't resolve all issues. The free market takes care of its own interests. The state is essential for the common good. President Lula's priorities are stability, with economic growth and, above all, social justice.
O principal problema do Brasil, nação, é a brutal concentração.
The principal problem with Brazil as a nation is the brutal concentration of wealth in a few hands. In terms of inequality, Brazil is only just ahead of Sierra